Hello, and welcome to Story Behind the Story, where romance readers and authors connect. I'm Reese Ryan, author of sexy, emotional romantic fiction featuring lots of family drama, surprising secrets, and a cast of complicated, sometimes messy characters. I thank you so much for joining us here to chat today, where we love talking to authors about different book related subjects. And so today we're going to be talking about love and music. Books and music are, my two loves. Music is like this close behind books for me. And so I love that intersection of romance and books that have music as their theme. So I'm so excited to be talking about that today with Xio Axelrod. And we're going to be talking about her book, which you probably have seen just popping up everywhere. Girl with the Stars in Her Eyes. So we will definitely be talking about that. We will be talking about this intersection of romance and music, and we're doing some recs of books that do this, as well as just chatting it up, learning a little bit more about her and about her story. So thank you so much for joining us. If you're new here, or if you've come back before, we thank you so much. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe. So, and also in the coming weeks, I've posted the next two shows, which in the next two shows, I'm going to be on July 21st. I'm going to be chatting with several other fellow Harlequin Desire authors. So you definitely don't want to miss that. And then on August the 4th, I'll be talking to Jacqueline Thomas. We're going to be discussing handling difficult real life issues in romance. So super excited about that. And there are a few more shows that I haven't posted yet that I'm going to tell you about at the end of the show. So make sure you hang out until the end so I can tell you about those additional shows that are happening. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Xio on so we can talk to her, because that's why we're here.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us, Xio. So,
thank you for having me.
I am a little lazy, so admit that. But also, I like for you to tell people a little bit about who you are, as opposed to me just reading some canned bio. So let's start off with just like the basics. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you write.
Well, I'm Xio Axelrod. I write different flavors of contemporary romance and romantic fiction. A lot of music is involved, but also I've written sports romance. I've written a little bit of romantic suspense. I write a lot of queer romance. So yeah, I'm just wherever my muse takes me, that's kind of where I go. I'm from Philadelphia, and I'm still living here. Grew up here. I grew up in the music industry, so that's a big part of who I am too. Not sure. I like soccer. I'm a big soccer fan. I just watched the Euros. I'm just watching the Euros, and so I'm a little upset about what happened today at the Euros. But yeah, I'm like,
okay. Tell me about that later.
yeah.
Because we always like after the end of the show usually. Because I don't think I told you this before, but after the end of the show, usually after I send you off again,
yeah,
you hang out. We get to chat a little bit.
Yeah, we can chat about that.
The after show chats are always fun.
But yeah, I'm just, I love writing music. Like you, music is a huge part of me. So, and it's, writing and they kind of go hand in hand. So yeah, looking forward to chatting about that.
Absolutely. So I'm excited about that. So like I said, you're a big soccer fan. I am a huge basketball fan. So cool. Right now it's also the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am on a deadline of a book that just won't seem to end. I'm past the word count, but the book story just has not ended yet. And so, but when I'm done for the evening, I do love my basketball. Mm-hmm. So I totally get that, being a sports person. So before we get deeper into the book, you mentioned already that you're from Philadelphia and that you do have a background in music. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about you growing up in the music industry.
Yeah, my father is a songwriter, producer, arranger, performer. He wrote a lot of stuff. He worked with Gamble and Huff, which was sort of like Philadelphia's version of Motown, Philly International. So it was like the OJs, the Spinners, like all those bands in the 70s. So he wrote and produced for them, and then the Village People, and so it's like I was always around music. Like I don't remember a time when I wasn't around music, either through him or through some other relatives who were in the business. So I literally grew up in studios and on stages and backstages and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a big part of who I am.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine all of the stories
Yeah.
and stuff you must have. And you mentioned some of my favorites, the OJs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm from Cleveland originally, which
Okay.
I believe Eddie OJ's from Cleveland. And so, I mean, Eddie is from Cleveland, Levert is from Cleveland.
Uh-huh.
Levert is a big thing for us. So,
Yeah.
that always makes me excited to hear about my folks, or people I consider my folks.
Yeah.
And I just love hearing about them. So, first of all, I'm so excited about all of the buzz that the girl with stars in her eyes are getting. First of all, just was it a surprise to you, or was this exactly what you expected to see it hitting all these lists and all of that?
Oh no, not at all. I expected a good response, but a different response. I thought it would be more, I don't know what I thought it would be, but yeah, like some of the lists really shocked me. I knew what they were trying to do because they were like, okay, we really want to position, the music. You've got all this great backstory and it ties into what you're doing, and people will love that. And I was like, yeah, they'll really get into that. But then like some of the other stuff that happened, I was like, wait, Target? Wait, book of the month? What? It was such a like. I'm still like, I look at the book. It's this is the book of the month copy here. I don't know if you've seen it, the hardcover. And when they told me that this was going to be in hardcover, because they said, it's going to be a book of the month add-on, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Are they still around? Because I had, and I was like, that's really cool. And they were like, yeah, so hardcover. And like, I was like, wait, back up, hardcover? Like what? So this was like a dream of mine to have a book in hardcover. So to have it happen with this book was just like, yes, I shed some tears there.
Oh, I can understand that.
Yeah.
What an exciting thing to happen. So
yeah,
because the book has been on the best of list for like Entertainment Weekly, Washington Post, Essence.
Yeah, Essence. That was like, I made it. I'm in Essence.
I'm like, wow, that is so amazing. And just also to our viewers, if you are watching from Facebook, go to the very bottom of the description, or even closer to the top. I think I put it closer to the top, where you can give StreamYard the authority to see your name and stuff. Otherwise, we can't see who you are. We can only see your
because it's Facebook user. Yeah,
it's a Facebook user. So, but if you give StreamYard the permission, then we'll be able to see your name. So, okay. So for anybody who is not familiar with the story, tell us a little bit about the premise of The Girl with the Stars in Her Eyes.
Sure. It is book one of a 4-book series about an all-female rock band. I wanted to make this book sort of the entryway for readers into this world. And so our main protagonist, Tony Bennett, and that's her real name. She is a indie musician, like a session musician, what we call a hired gun. She basically comes in and just plays in sessions. Sometimes a band will have her sit in or whatever, but she's making a name for herself in Philadelphia that way. She has no desire to be a star. Like she really has this aversion to fame, but she loves music. Music is her life, and so she wants to make this career the other way. She wants to be a producer. She wants to own a studio. Like she has these big dreams, but they're like behind the scenes stuff. But in order to make her big dream come true, she needs money. Yes. And so in order, she's scraping and scrimping and saving to make money. And then this huge opportunity drops into her lap to play for this up and coming band who has a lot of buzz, and it's a temporary gig, but it's a ton of money. And she's like, okay, well, there's all this buzz around them, but I'm not really part of them. I can go in, do my thing, get my money and get out. And of course, that does not work. That doesn't happen because the manager of the band, for one, is her childhood best friend who they had this like pact to get out of their town together, and he leaves her behind. So she's got all this, like, he like breaks her heart, and there's all this resentment. So, she's got to deal with working with him. She has to find her way in this group, even temporarily. And she learns a lot about herself, about her talent, what her career could look like. About him and her relationship with, their relationships. There's a lot of like second chance love, a little tiny bit of enemies to lovers just because of the way things left, when he left her. But there's some found family, the price of fame. Like I tried to give, like I said, an entryway into this world, because we often see the glitz and the glamour side, and the Grammys and all that other stuff. But like the daily grind, the nitty gritty grind that happens behind the scenes, and all the machinations and stuff of the label and all that stuff, I wanted to like really pull all of that in but like gently in this first book, because as the series goes on and as the band gets bigger, more things happen. So, but yeah. But this is the story of Tony. Really, I mean, there's a romance here, but it's really her journey. It's really about her finding herself.
I love that, and I thought it was different too that you said that she wants this this career in music, but she doesn't want fame.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think about that a lot. It's like, okay, I want to be like, at this level, but I don't want to, you never want to have to be like, okay, I can't go to the, Disney World or to Target, or whatever.
You lose your privacy. Yeah. There's all kinds of red tape and there's all kinds of stuff that you have to deal with. Yeah.
So that makes a huge difference. So that tells us a little bit more about her, as it is the fact that she wants that, but she doesn't necessarily want to be famous. What else can you tell us about, because you told us a lot about her and what she wants or whatever. Give us a little bit more information about Tony. Why, for instance, does she not? And of course, I want you to tell the whole book.
Right.
Why does she not want the fame? Why?
The book opens, and I'm always on the fence about writing prologues, but her story is so big that I wanted to give her one. And I think it's true for all the women in this series. But her mother is a musician, and she is talented and beautiful and wants that gold ring. She wants her name on the marquee, wants to be a star. And she's a single mom, and she kind of treats Tony sometimes like a prop, sometimes like a little sister, occasionally like a daughter, but mostly like a burden. Like, she really sees Tony as a hindrance. Her star would rise if she didn't have Tony there. And as soon as like a big opportunity drops into her lap, she dumps Tony with her father, who she's never met, when she's 12 years old. And so Tony sees fame as this sort of addiction, this thing that just takes you over, and you do anything in the pursuit of it, including turning your back on your family. So she really doesn't want to have anything to do with that. And of course, you see all the stories in the news about, the drugs and people just doing wild stuff. And so she's like, that's not me. I don't want to have anything to do with that. And that's how she views fame. But it really stems from the way that her mother treated her.
Wow. See, that's a lot of depth right there for us to get into. That makes sense as to why she would be kind of have an aversion to it.
Yeah.
So then and I like that you said that even though there is a romance in it, it's really about her journey, because I love those stories that have the heroine's journey.
Yeah.
So, and I love the name. When I saw Sebastian Quick, I thought that was a cool name. How did you come up with that name?
Well, it's funny because I wanted him to change his name when he leaves town. And I was like, but Quick is such a cool name. So originally his name was Sebastian Quick. And I was like, yeah, but I wouldn't change my name if my name were Sebastian Quick. Like, I wouldn't want to keep that name. So his name, when, as they're growing up, is Quigley. And I was like, cool. So now I can keep Quick, which just sounds like a rock name. It sounds like, he's a guitarist as well. And he's got the whole like 90s grunge look going on. And I just thought that would be a cool name. And I love Seb and Seba as a nickname. So yeah, it was just fun to play around with. I love, like, that's I don't know about you, but when I'm writing books, the first thing I do is cast characters. They have the name. I have like what they look like. Sometimes if I really have a specific idea of what they look like, I'll go find like images that will cast them for me, or like somebody I can stare at while I'm writing a scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he and Tony were pretty fully formed in my mind when I started writing, or when I just started ideating the series. Yeah.
One of the things that also appealed to me with the premise of the story is like, I love the whole former best friends.
Yeah.
Former best friends to lovers, whatever kind of vibe, especially when there's kind of hurt feelings in the past. I just love mining all those emotions and stuff. So,
and I had to drop a little unrequited love in there too, because he doesn't know that she was in love with her.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit more about his character and what it is that he's looking for.
It's funny because a lot of readers have been like, oh, Seb, I wanted to shake him. I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to want to shake him because he's a really messed up dude. He has, Tony's background is not fun. She had a tough childhood. His, though, was just horrific. He had an abusive father. He lost his mom when he was young. And, you grow up under an abusive parent, and, a lot of times you worry you're going to be like them.
Mm.
Especially when you're constantly in confrontational situations and there's always arguing and fighting or whatever is going on. And as he grew up, it became more physical. And so he was like, I'm just like this dude. Like, how can I even be around someone as sweet as Tony or anyone? Like, I don't deserve this. So he kind of just takes off. And he never lets go of that guilt, and he never lets go of that feeling that he, somewhere deep inside, he's really this monster. As nice as he is, as wonderful and supportive as he is for all the people around him, the way he takes care of the band and his best friend and everyone else, but he still thinks that he's like his dad, and he carries it around. And so he does there's a lot of push and pull. He makes choices that he thinks are the best choices for the people around him, and they're not. It's like, if you would only just sit down and think for a second, but he does. He's like, I got to fix it. I'm the problem solver. I've got to. So yeah, he's got a lot of baggage. We'll just say it that way. He's got a lot of baggage.
Yeah, it's amazing how those early experiences and stuff, like you said, that's a good example. Even when you're in a situation where, like, okay, I can't stand this person. Oh, I would never want to be like them.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you really have to make a concerted effort to not just gravitate back to this, just repeating those same mistakes. And
yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting premise and situation to deal with, because it's something a lot of people deal with. You can get screwed up as a child by your family, just experiences that you have that stay with you forever. I've known so many people who I'm like, I always think to myself, why are you like this? and it might come out that it has to do with their family, or it could be some random thing some person said that like sticks in their head.
Like,
kind of reminds me how with us as writers, like 500 people can say that they like your book.
Yeah,
you're gonna remember that one
that one review. You're just like,
oh. You know what I'm
saying? Yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna take a minute to just say hi, first of all, to everybody who's with us live as well as in the replay, and to go back to a few of the comments. Somebody mentioned Ohio players, love Ohio players. But Steph from Steph's Romance Book Talk says, y'all just finished and loved it. Can't wait for the series.
Thank you, Steph.
So, and then Stephanie Perkins said behind the scenes as well in the music industry. Yeah, I bet. And then she also said that Friends to Lovers is her fave. I do love a good Friends to Lovers. I think I love Enemies to Lovers a little bit more.
Me too. But I also like throwing tropes into a blender and mixing them up. So I really did that with this book. Like, I was like, they're childhood friends, but they were never together. But now they're enemies. But then they're kind of, So I was like, I was just like, what can I do? How far can I stretch to this trope?
I know. It's just like all these. I love it. I love the mashup of the tropes. When they're organic.
Yeah. Keeps it fresh.
Yeah. But like, I do love, because I love both Enemies to Lovers, and Friends to Lovers, but because I love that, history that they have that you can draw from. So, either one can be fun. Enemies is just a little bit higher for me, but fun. And again, I'm just a quick repeat for anybody who's joining us from Facebook. First of all, thank you for saying great interview. We appreciate you being here. And so if you want YouTube to be able to see who you are on the description where you're watching in Facebook, make sure you click that link to give StreamYard permission to see your name and face so that we can see who you are. Okay, awesome. So you mentioned that you live in Philadelphia, and we know Philadelphia has a huge and vibrant music scene, which you are a part of as well. Because we talked about your music industry background. We didn't talk about the fact that you also sing and perform and stuff. So you're part of that whole scene in Philadelphia. So, and it plays a big role in the story. So why was it so important to you to include the Philadelphia music scene in The Girl with the Stars? I keep want to throw an extra "the" in there.
I know. I've done that too, and I'm like, it's more freaking. And I call it Guishy because it's such a long title. So I'm like my editor and I would go back for. I was like, yeah, Guishy. Here's edit number 4 for Guishy. And so the one I'm working.
Pronounce that because I saw you. I think I saw you write it a bunch of times. And I didn't know how you pronounce it. Okay,
Guishy. Yeah. And book 2 is Gwitham because it's the girl with rhythm in her heart. So it's Gwitham. But I'm a huge Philly girl. I mean, I grew up in Philly, and we have the big chip on our shoulder because we're halfway between New York and DC, and we don't get a lot of love. Especially like music was all like Motown and LA and New York and Memphis and everything else, and Philly was kind of like an afterthought. We even do it to ourselves. Like I spent a lot of time in Detroit on a project a few years ago, and as soon as you land in the airport, like Motown is everywhere. It's like on the speakers. They have a Motown store, and you come to Philly, and there's like nothing. You know what I mean? Like they may have one song, like a T-shirt or something like that, but like the studio where this stuff was recorded has been demolished and turned into apartments. Like the label is gone. It's been knocked down. So like we don't preserve our history here. So I feel like I think that probably rubbed off on me from my father, because it's like we want to celebrate, Philly's, like you said, the vibrant music scene we have here, and it trickles over to other arts too. But so I was like, okay, they start out in New York because every band wants to go to New York because they think that's where they need to make it, either there or LA. But I was like, if you're in New York and you're famous, it's hard for you to navigate stuff, because paparazzi and whatever else. And so I was like, where would you go if you needed to get away from that? Philly. Philly's got your studios. We've got your venues. We've got, we don't follow people down the street. So it was sort of a natural progression for them to come down here. And I got to show off a little bit of Philly, even though it's fictional places, I got to show up the vibe of Philly, because that saying, like, if you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Yeah, I think it's more true of Philly. Okay, we will boo you. We will boo you. I've seen opening acts get booed off stages. It's a rough gig, but if they love you, if we fall in love with you, like, we will love you forever. So bands will come back here time and time again. They're like, man, like, nobody told me about Philly. Like, they really we give you our all to the artists that come through here. So
that's one of the things, like when I wrote my first books, that I set them in Cleveland, where I'm from, and that was the whole thing, chip on my shoulder too.
Yeah,
like we got this chip on our shoulder. Is like,
yeah,
because we already know people hate us, and they think that there's nothing there or whatever. Yeah. So I took it as a personal thing for me in that book to like show the music scene, and just different things about Ohio and Cleveland that I enjoy and love and want to be a part of. So I set scenes at things like the Cleveland Museum of Art, which is one of my favorite places in the world, and just things like that, because I do want to do it. So I totally get that about taking that opportunity to kind of just show your hometown in a different light.
Yeah.
Or show what people don't know about it. And Cleveland is a place too where it's like music is big there, and like I'm a huge, I love music, so I like to go to concerts and stuff. And in Cleveland, we go to concerts all the time. And I feel like I was actually surprised when I moved to Raleigh that hardly ever any acts come here. If they come to North Carolina, they're usually going to like Greensboro, which is halfway between us and Charlotte.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that was like a real shock to me, because I'm just used to being able to like all the acts coming through all the time.
Right. Right.
Like, who would have known? I'm like, I might have considered that if I had known that before I moved.
Right. That's a big consideration. It's like, how many shows do you get a year?
Okay. I know. Who are they? You know what I'm
saying? Yeah.
So yeah, I can't, as a matter of fact, the last big concert I went back to Cleveland to go to it for the On the Run tour too, for Beyonce and Jay-Z, because I don't think they came here at all. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm getting upset about it again. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So rock star romance is a huge subgenre of romance. So what are some of the music themed romances that you would recommend to readers?
Okay, I had to write them down. Yeah, I have 5. I think 5.
Okay. Good. I got a good list too. So go ahead. You start.
And most of them are series. So the first one is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just say real quick to readers, to people who are watching, if you have rock star romances or music themed romances that you want to recommend to us, go ahead and drop them in the comments.
Please.
I'll pop them up on the screen, as well as I'm going to add all of these, both Xio's recommendations and mine, as well as some others, to the list, to the description. I'll update it with that in the next day or two. So go ahead.
So the first one is the Sinners series by Reese Ford. It's about a band called Sinners Gin, and it's like part romantic suspense, part rock romance. There's a lot of mayhem. There's an Irish family of cops. It's like it's a lot. It's a lot of drama, but the music is just so like the way the relationship that the members have with their music and with each other is just so authentic to me that I listen to the series a lot. I got the audio, which is voiced by Tristan James, and it is just superb. It's one of the best like audio performances I've ever heard. But yeah, so that's my first rec. Are we going back and forth? Or are we going?
No, I'm gonna let you go
first. Okay.
Yes, you are the guest, ma'am. You
go
first.
All right. So that's the first one, Sinner Series by Rhys Ford, and that's RHYS Ford. And then the second series is from Kennedy Ryan, and it's the Soul series, which is, I think, she's written so many fantastic books and series since this one, but I think it's gotten sort of like pushed to the side by a lot of readers. They jump into her other series. But if you love music romance, really deep emotional connection between the characters and their relationship with music and the way they use music to love each other, then I would definitely recommend the Soul series. Her voice really, really shines in that. It gives you all the warm fuzzies.
I love that. I'm glad you brought it up because I was not aware of that.
Yeah, I rarely see it mentioned, if ever. And I'm like, really, guys? Come on, The next one is the Riven series from Rowan Parrish, which has reluctant rock stars. It has one of the most accurate portrayals of the life of working musicians that I've seen. There's a lot of stuff that happens away from the tour and away from the studio, just daily.
What's the name of the series again?
Riven. Okay. Yeah. And also really emotional, but lovely. The one that I am reading now, and I don't know. I guess there's going to be another book. I don't know. I just finished the latest book, but it's the Famous series from Eden Finley. And the premise really grabbed me. She was a new to me author, but it's like if a band like One Direction broke up, what would happen to each individual member? So you get the Harry Styles type character who just goes on to be an even bigger megastar. You get the ones that people don't remember who they were. The one who walks away from music completely. Like there's just the one who puts out an album that bombs. I mean, it's just like everything happens to this band. And it's such a fun series. It's got a lot of music in it, but it's also a lot of like interpersonal relationships between musicians, which I love, So that's the Famous series from Eden Finley. And then recently I read One Time Only from Lauren Blakely, which is a bodyguard falls for the rock star.
On my list.
Yeah, friends to lovers, found family, really, 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 really sexy. And I hope she writes more. It's really good. And then I want to read, there are two series that I really want to read, and I think one of them is actually in my Kindle. One is the VIP series from Kristen Callahan, which keeps getting wrecked to me. And I love Kristen's work. I don't know why I haven't read this series yet. And then the other one is the Rock Kiss series from Nalini Singh, which, if you can believe it or not, I have not read. Which I feel like that's some sort of sacrilege that I haven't read that series. But yeah, so those are my recs and want to reads.
That's an excellent list, and you not only gave us recs but want to reads. I like that. And so DL, you mentioned DL White, author. DL White mentioned The Guy Next Door.
Yes, yeah.
Is that whose book is that? Is that yours, DL? So let us know that.
Yeah.
And mentioned as an ode to 90s boy groups like New Edition. So I'm a huge New Edition fan. I have seen them so many times in concert. Yeah, I thought so. Thank you. So I've seen them so many times in concert. And even now I will go with my 51-year-old self and see them in concert. And we jump it up and down like a tween, just like when the first time I went and saw them. They always put on such a great show. So I love stuff like that. I've seen them so many times. I love it. So I'm totally into that. So y'all don't forget to add DL White's The
Yes.
Guy. We love it. 90s rock groups and boy bands rather. And then she said to follow Duet, also by Eliza David. Okay.
Somebody just mentioned that to me. I have to get that.
Yeah. So here is my list. So the first one, and I said rock, but I also said music theme. So I didn't want to just talk about rock. So
yeah.
Sweet Jazz and Bitter Blues are two historical jazz books by author Ursula Renee, and I love them. Love them. Those both love both of those too much. So I'm gonna name first the ones I absolutely have read and loved. So those two I read and absolutely loved. Back in the Day by Katrina Jackson
Mm.
is part of her, what is it, Bayside Blues or something basically something like that. The series is called, but The Layover is the first book, and I read that one too. I feel like I read The Layover a long time ago,
Mm.
and I feel like even though it's not necessarily like a rock band or that kind of thing, like
Mm-hmm.
most of them, it had a heavy music theme. I felt
Mm-hmm.
like it did, but Back in the Day definitely does. That's her more recent one, and what I loved about that one is it's different. It was different than anything I had remembered reading from her of hers before, but it deals with a older man who is, you know, forced to kind of like an older man is forced to go live with his son or whatever. But he
Mm.
was like a music reporter for many years, and
Okay.
so, you know, he's telling the story of how the son, he met the son's mother originally, and so they met at this rock concert on one his first like big chance assignment or whatever. And so
Okay.
music is very much a part of it. Family is very much a part of it. Found family is also a part of the story. But I love that story so much. And that's by Katrina Jackson, Back in the Day. And like I said, also Layover, I feel like has a strong music theme. And then Let Me Love You by Alexandria House. Big South, who is the hero in that one, he is a rap star. So I want to make sure hip hop got some love.
Yeah.
So, and then recommendations that I have things I want to read is Dynasties by the Beaumont Bay series by Jules Bennett and Jessica Lemon. That's from Harlequin Desire.
Mm-hmm.
Roomies by Kristen
Yes.
Lauren.
Yeah.
So, and uh, Lead and Dirty by Kylie Scott.
Yes. Kylie's books. Yeah.
So yes, and I have dying to read something of hers anyway because I've been just seeing. I'm like connected with her on different social media,
Uh-huh.
and I've been
Uh-huh.
dying to read something of hers for a long. So and I saw this, I'm like, I absolutely have to include Kylie on the list. And one time only you mentioned it's a male
Yeah.
romance.
Oh yeah, I should have said that. A couple of the series that I mentioned were male. I always forget because I read everything, so I'm just like yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a male by Lauren Blakely, which I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize she wrote any male. So
She just started. I think early this year, late last year, early this year. She's released a few. There's one. Oh my god, it's not a rock one, but it's a hockey player and a bartender, and it takes place in London, and it's so it's like insta love is not my favorite thing, but she makes it work
me
so
either.
well in that book. Like it works really really well. But yeah.
Me either. I am not huge.
Oh, I think it's called A Guy Walks Into My Bar. That's what. Yeah, it's called A Guy Walks Into My Bar.
Let it marinate. Let people
Yeah,
think about it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
just...
yeah. It's the connection, sure, but when they're declaring love by the second page, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and you know, and then also I had Catch Me When I Fall by A.L. Jackson.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And Super Fan by Serena Bowen. And you know, there were two more. There were another one. There was another one I wrote down that I actually did read. It was either Bang Theory or another one, and the author's last name is Valenti. I think it's Lily.
Oh, Lily. Yeah.
And I think I can't remember whether I read Bang Theory or the other one in the series, but it was really funny. It was fun and funny. So lots of recs here for everybody who are and yes, Sherry asked, who is also an author, Sherry Hauser asked.
Hi, Sherry.
List, and I absolutely am going to make a list. So after this, in the next couple of days, I'll make sure to add the list in the description to the show. And once I do, I definitely will make sure I send that out in the round so people will know about that. So what I didn't ask, so we talked about your stories, and you told us it's a 4-book series, so we know we have that. Oh, here's the other thing. Speaking of music and stuff, you have a male book that is also set around music that recently won an award. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I have a couple of music themed series, but that one, Frankie and Johnny, it was a book too. There are 2 novellas. It's a duet. And the second novella won a passionate. Actually, where is it? this is like the coolest looking award I think I've ever gotten. It's actually because it came out and I saw the back and I was like, somebody sent me a paddle. What is going on? And then I turned it over and I was like, yeah. But yeah, it's called Frankie and Johnny Let the Music Play. And the series is Frankie and Johnny, and it's about an expat Scottish DJ who's working at an indie station outside of Philadelphia. He is a mellophile, which is probably the closest character written to me, whereas we can't turn the music off. It's always on. Like we would constantly running soundtrack. And so the best job for him is as a DJ, and he gets a job as an overnight DJ, which is perfect for him. And then the station decides they're going to do some renovations, and the guy who comes in to do the renovations is this like hot contractor. It's just more to him than that. He's like this quiet teddy bear type dude. But Frankie is not happy to have this person in his space, you know. And so it starts off a little bit as an antagonistic situation, but it quickly morphs into a friendship, and then other things happen. So yeah, but it's one of my favorite stories that I've written. So I was really, really surprised that it resonated with the judges, and I was really pleased with that because I write quite a bit of mail, but I don't get a lot of like love from readers for it. So.
That is always such a good feeling when a story that you feel like you feel very strongly about.
Yeah,
like all your books are your babies, right? But
yeah.
We do have those books that like I don't know for whatever reason they hit a stronger note or whatever. So
yeah, I think it's also the first one I wrote completely in first person as well. I don't know why I've never done that before, but yeah. So I feel really close to him too. So yeah.
That definitely lets the reader feel like they're closer to the person as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you now we know it's a 4-book series, so tell us a little bit more about what's coming next for you.
Right. Well, like I said, I'm working on edits for book 2, which is The Girl with Rhythm in Her Heart, which is Kayla's story. She's the drummer. So between that, and I'm also working on trying to get back into the studio to record more music, because the music that the Lilies have out is me and my band. So I, with the lockdown, we were supposed to do like a whole album and all this other stuff, but of course we couldn't get in to do anything. And the studio that I used to use closed permanently, unfortunately.
Wow.
So we're in the process of finding another facility, and all that stuff, but hopefully I can get back in there and get some more new music out, because, as they grow, I wanted to give them.
So tell us a little bit more about that before we go more into the next book. Tell us a little bit more about you creating.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
so the Lilies. Is that the band in the book?
Yes.
And so so you're making their music for them.
Yes.
So it kind of reminds me of like I used to watch Castle. The TV show Castle.
Oh, they had books, right?
Right. And so they would make books, right? From like he was actually writing them. And so that's pretty cool. So okay. That's cool. So where can people listen to that?
On Spotify, iTunes, all this. I think it's streaming on Spotify behind me now. I just put the logo because the logo shows up on Spotify, so that's the Lilies behind me. But yeah, I'm all about verisimilitude when it comes to this series. Like I wanted to have a person who didn't know anything about the books could discover the band on their own. They have their website, they're on Instagram and Twitter and all that. The club that they play in Philly, the Electric Unicorn, has its own internet presence. So like I wanted to build out the world as much as I can. And as the series goes on, more of those things will come into the real world. But yeah, I was influenced by my favorite TV show, Scum, which you probably seen me mention a billion times.
I'll see you mention that. I don't know about it. Actually, you are the first person I've ever heard mention it. So
really, not surprising.
I've been in deadline hell for like months.
Well, it's been off. The original's been off the air for 4 years. But it was the way that they presented the show was in clips throughout the week. It wasn't like, oh, Friday night, there's an episode on for an hour. It was, when is this clip going to drop? When is there going to be an Instagram post? When is there going to be a text message? So you were constantly on the lookout for content. And it was really immersive. You felt like you knew the characters. And I was like, man, this is brilliant storytelling, brilliant marketing, brilliant. It was just like really like, so that was like a while back. So like 4 years ago, and I didn't even have the idea for this series. I just knew I wanted to do something like that. And then when I got the idea for writing a rock band, I was like, well, they would have social media and they would have merchandise, and they would have music and all this other stuff. So I just sort of set that aside and tried to figure out when and how I could do it. And then when Source Books came and said, hey, do you want to write for something for us? And I was like, I have this thing. And they were like, okay, so they thought it was fun. I don't think they realized the extent I was going to go in terms of like building up the world.
It was a good bet for them. I know that.
But they got a kick out of it. And it was really fun working on some of the marketing things with them. I gave away a guitar, a replica of Tony's guitar with the launch, which was fun. So I got to sign it and, put stickers all over it and everything. And,
oh, cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. But yeah, the music is a big part of it. And I want to, like, people who are discovering the book now, who really get into it, because I've had like a few readers create reels and stuff on Instagram and stuff, which is like, I cried the first time I saw one. This woman did a review and she showed pictures of herself playing the guitar as a 16-year-old in her band when she was in high school. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was so like, yeah, it was really cool. But they're following the Lilies on Instagram and stuff. And I post as Lily. And so like the story sort of continues between the books. So I'm doing that content and then working on the next 3 books in the series. And so Kayla's next, and then Tiff, the bass player, and then Lily is the final book in the series.
I got you. Yeah. I like that you ended with Lily. So tell us a little bit more about The Girl with Rhythm in Her Heart.
So The Girl with Rhythm in Her Heart is a story about the pressure of being perfect, the perfect child. There's definitely, I carry on the themes of found family because it's a big thing with these people. Their family grows. I've written probably my favorite hero in Thai. He's my pansexual cinnamon roll. He is amazing. And yeah, he's, there's some deep themes in there, but it's not an issue book. You know what I mean? Like I try to touch on things and deal with them in a realistic way, but I want to take the reader on a journey that's hopeful and optimistic and, so I sort of like give them more insight into the music industry, more insight into band life, and also how reality and how those things encroach upon the dream. The dream is to get a Grammy and be on the whatever, but like real life is still also happening, and these are real people with real people problems. And so, I wanted to humanize these people who attain this level of stardom that they're heading for. So
you're talking my jam, because I know definitely like, for instance, my publisher Harlequin Desire, that particular imprint is all about like the big okay, I see you. It's about the wealth and all that kind of great stuff. But for me, like I like to make the people as everyday as possible, even though I have all this wealth and stuff, because I'm more interested in all the other stuff, the the personal interactions, the issues that they're dealing with, and all that kind of stuff. So I love that you're kind of, instead of just being like, okay, this is going to be a book about the glamour of being a rock star, right, it deals with all this other stuff behind the scenes. So I really, really, really love that. So thank you so much for coming and joining us. Tell people where they can connect with you.
Well, I'm at XioAxelrod.com. I'm also like a big social media butterfly, so you can find me on Twitter and Instagram usually. And I now have a TikTok. I have to be more active on it, but I do have one. I will do more videos. I almost gave the Lilies a TikTok, but I was like, that's too much work. Yeah, so they're going to stay on Instagram.
I got one myself, and I'm just like, now I'm like, okay, damn, I got to actually do something with it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I'm like,
so definitely don't have to do it for a character too. So I totally get that. But thank you so much. And then for anyone who was here, by all means, please go out and get your copy of, what do you call it? Was it Squishy? The Girl with Stars in Her Eyes. You can get it at your local retailer or on Amazon. I have the link in the description below.
I think Target still has signed copies left if anybody wants a signed copy.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm a little mad because I got mine at Target and mine is not signed, so I'm a little
because they're only selling them online. I didn't know that. They're selling the signed ones online, because I signed like, they send you, I was like, for like 2 weeks.
I didn't know that. I gotta get my girl's book. Okay. So you can, there's a link in the description below, as well as a link to Xio's website, so you can connect with her on all the places she is on social media, her and the Lilies, as a matter of fact. So thank you so much for joining us and wishing you again. I'm just so happy and excited for you and
Thank
seeing
you
you
so
on the
much.
list. Every time I see the book show up again on the list, like I want to cry.
Oh,
It's like, so congratulations to you and thank you for
thank
being
you.
with us to hang out. And I'll be right there as soon as I end the show.
Thanks for hanging out, guys.
Yes. So thank you all for being with us today and chatting with us. So again, don't forget to get your copy. And this is a nice thick book. So like one of the things I asked in my group recently was if people like thick books or a smaller book. So if you are wanting to get something with you can put your teeth into, Xio has got you. So definitely. So again, thank you for joining us and you can get her stuff there. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the show if you enjoyed it today. We absolutely appreciate your efforts to spread the word so that other readers can find the show. And again, check back in the description in a couple of days. I'm going to update it with all of these recommendations that we just talked about. Lots of great recommendations, books that we've read personally and recommend, as well as ones that we would like to read. And I feel like it was a few that I didn't mention. Like, I don't think I mentioned Kiana Alexander's 2 series. She has one for 404 Sound for Harlequin Desire, as well as The Gentleman of Queen City, I think it is, for Kamani Romance. So there's a couple other ones that I had wanted to mention that I forgot to put on the list. So, but I'll have all those in the description box coming up. And if you enjoy reader-centered author discussions and you want more, Shay Baby's Brown Book Series is a great one. You'll find a link to hers on the bottom of my page. Today, she previewed or she released the interview she did with Talia Hibbert, who I've also talked to. So if you love Talia Hibbert, make sure you go listen to her interview with her and check out mine with her as well. I already mentioned that I'll be talking in 2 weeks on the 21st at 7 p.m. to the authors of Desire. I'm going to be talking to Niobe Bryant, Silver James, Catherine Mann, Janice Maynard, Joanne Rock, Catherine Shield, and Yara St. John. And then on Wednesday, August 4th, I'm going to be talking to Jacqueline Thomas about handling difficult real life subjects in romance or real life issues in romance. And then Priscilla Olivares is going to be talking to me on Wednesday, August the 18th. We're going to be talking about balancing fun family drama and romance. And then on September the 15th, Denny S. Bryce, whose book is over there. I didn't bring her. Oh, no, it's right here. Denny's book, Wild Women in the Blues. She's going to be coming to chat with us too. And we're going to be talking about when the past meets the present, exploring the art of writing dual timelines, as she does in that book. So very tricky things. I definitely want to hear more about that for sure. So be sure to subscribe so you'll know when new shows go live. And again, thank you so much for being here with me today. Happy reading. And if you have any questions, comments, whatever, feel free to leave them for me. I will go back and answer them after the show, or if you're listening into replay at the replay, drop your comments, questions, and I'll respond as soon as I can. Again, thank you so much for joining us this evening for my chat with Xio Axelrod. And don't forget to get your copy of her book. Take care. Happy reading.